Digital product passports. What is it? Why do you need it? For whom is it? When to implement it? We will dive right into this extremely important topic for all fashion brands that want to sell their products in the European Union from the middle of 2027. In this YouTube episode, you'll learn everything about digital product passports. Our goal with this episode is to literally tell you everything there is to know so you can prepare yourself, so you can know how to implement it, and literally how to go about to start with your DPP journey.
So the reason why we will talk so much about digital product passports is because we have created Porsche, that is a sustainable fashion business software that includes supply chain traceability, and it's an all-in-one cloud solution where we help apparel brand manage their business, their operations. We have project management, we have product management, we have integrated processes, supply chain traceability. And one part of Porsche is that we create digital product passports in a really easy way. So that's why we, over the last year, have just dug into this topic a lot. It really started with us through our design agency that we worked with hundreds of brands, and also through Apparel Entrepreneurship. We work with hundreds of startups. So we've seen the struggles that brands have, the problems that they have. So in the beginning, we did workshops, we created different solutions, but then why not create a system for this that can solve this issue for all brands? That's the only all-in-one solution out there for brands that want to create more circular products, streamline their operations. We put everything inside one single tool, and we have a circular framework inside, and it's really easy to use. It's plug and play. You just log in, get started. You can use all the features. You can also start using all the digital product passports that we'll explain today.
And I want to add, it's also one of the most affordable solutions out there.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, since it came from us working with brands, it's really optimized for apparel brands. It's for all industries. It doesn't matter if it's workwear or fashion. It works for all apparel brands, even all product-based brands, I would say. And it works for all departments and teams. And that's actually one of the advantage of the system, is that you will look at the same metrics, the same KPIs, look at all the things that goes on, and we also have a communication part inside of the system. So I know there are suppliers and manufacturers that are interested in the system. It's optimized for apparel brands, and manufacturers can also log into this system.
And let's talk about DPPs. Why do we need digital product passport? First, because the world produces 92 million tons of textile waste every single year, with most products ending up in landfill or incineration. That's not good. And to solve this, we have to rethink how we produce, consume, and then use and dispose the products. And we have to go from the linear model to a circular model. Brands transition to a circular model. The European Union has created digital product passports. And why do we need them? Because we want to drive transparency and trust, because this enables circular economy practices, because we want to meet regulation requirements, because it helps consumers make sustainable choices. It improves supply chain accountability. It drives innovation and differentiation, and it combats counterfeits, which a lot of brands have trouble with. And not only brands, now we're also seeing resale platforms having huge issues with counterfeits being sold on their resale platforms.
So where did this idea about the digital product passports come from? We're really looking at the EU. That's where we're based, but this is also for everyone, all brands that want to sell a product in the European Union. And this is based in something called the Eco Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, the ESPR. And it came into place in July last year, 2024, in the EU. And it's a framework that aims to make sustainable products the norm on the EU market. And one part of this ESPR framework is the digital product passport. It's a tool to facilitate traceability for customers. This framework aims to improve all aspects of products during their whole life cycle, making them more sustainable, reliable, easier to reuse, repair, recycle, and to use less resources, energy, and water. It aims to minimize waste, and also looks at a ban on destruction of unsold garments, shoes, and accessories. And it's there to bring consumer awareness and education to promote sustainable consumption of textiles. So the introduction of the digital product passport, or the DPP as we call it, will be a tool to promote transparency and accountability in the textile value chain. What is a digital product passport? It's a digital record that provides detailed information about a product's entire life cycle. So it's not just only about how you made the product, but it's how the customer should take care of the product up until the disposal, the end of life of this. So it's a link to the online information. It's a digital twin of the product information that you have to show for the customers. So typically this will be displayed on a digital device, a mobile device. So the user, the buyer, anyone can get all the information about the garment they're looking at.
And the DPPs are required for all, as we know now, for all apparel, footwear, bags, furniture, interior textiles, and then also mattress products in the EU, basically.
Yeah, this legislation is an EU legislation, so that's what we're talking about today. We know there are other laws that are similar around the world, but the focus today is on the EU legislation. And as we previously mentioned, it's for anyone who want to sell in this region. It doesn't matter if you're based in the US or if you're based in Australia. If you want to sell one single t-shirt, this in the EU, this applies to you.
And it doesn't matter the size, as we know, the entire 100% regulation has not been stated yet. So we actually don't have 100% accurate information on what the DPPs will contain. This will be revealed in 2025 this year, sometime in the middle of this year. So at the moment, nobody actually 100% knows exactly what's going to be in the DPPs, but we know that it's for everybody that wants to sell. And this doesn't matter if you're a brand, again, like from the US or Canada or from China or from wherever, if you want to, or from Norway that's not in the European Union. If you want to sell in the EU, you need a DPP for your product, period.
So you can look at the DPP in three parts. First, you have the data. This is all the information about the supply chain, about the product, all the information that you should provide. And then you need some kind of unique identifier. This could be an NFC chip, but typically it will probably be in most cases a QR code, meaning one of these pixely images that you can scan with your phone. And when you scan this with your phone, you will have an IT system providing this information. So you have the data, you have a QR code, you scan it, and the one scanning this QR code will see the information.
Right now, again, it's not stated exactly how to go about, but there are 4 different ways. So it's the QR code that you could have. It's an NFC chip that could be placed inside of a garment, for example, but still be scannable with the phone. It can be an RFID tag. Again, this is also scannable with the phone, with the device, or some sort of a watermark, again, on some sort of a care label or label inside the product.
And who will be responsible for the data in the digital product passports?
I would say this is the biggest question. Everybody's asking. Suppliers asking, manufacturers asking, brands are asking, customers are asking. Who's will be to blame if something goes wrong?
And it's really clear. It's really simple answer. It's you as a brand, or it's the company putting the product on the market. So if you are the brand and you're putting sweaters on the market, well, you are responsible for the DPP and the data inside it. You are the one that have to collect it from the manufacturers and suppliers and the entire value chain, but you are responsible for the data. So today we are not certain if this is going to be on a SKU level or on a product level. It's not yet determined. And it's always then comes to the question, how will I get the data? Well, as you always will get any kind of data, you will ask for it. So today you'll probably need to ask the supplier or manufacturer for the specific data that you're after. But if you keep using the same supplier manufacturer, of course, it will be easier the second time, the third time, if you have more products from there. And hopefully we'll also see more manufacturers, suppliers being prepared for this. So it will hopefully be more packaged. They know that you're selling in the EU, so you will need this information and we'll give it to you. But that's where you will get it from. It's from your suppliers, manufacturing, providing you with the fabrics, the buttons, all the materials who are making the product. Those are the ones you need to ask for certain part of the data. And some information you also will need to add. We'll come to this later.
And this is the part where a lot of brands, especially smaller brands, kind of panic because they don't know their supply chain. Many are working with agents, meaning that the agents don't really say where the products are made, where the materials come from. They don't even know where the material comes from. They don't know where all the components come from. For example, in a bill of material, let's say the trims, the pullers, the thread, they're all local. Yeah, but local from where? Now in the digital product passport, you will need to know where every single component comes from. And in terms of, for example, in terms of, let's say you're having wool products, then you'll need to know, for example, all the way back to where the farm is, the sheep, where it actually comes from. So traceability is going to be massive, and you will need to know exactly where everything comes from, who's made it, who's responsible. And the bigger question that people are having is like, well, how can I validate that the data is correct? And Klas, to this you say?
Well, you can. No, you can. But it's, as we say, I mean, you have to trust your sources and you have to see if there's a way to validate the data from them. You might have a third party that can help you validate the data. But I would say, as long as there's humans somewhere along the value chain, you cannot be 100% that the data is 100%. There are discussions about, could you use blockchain? Well, that would help to maintain the correctness of the data. But if you put shit in the value into the blockchain, well, it's shit out.
So basically, this is where relationships with your suppliers and manufacturers are extremely important, and on making sure that you're picking the right partners. Because of course, if you're going with whomever, you have no idea if they have any certifications, if they actually care about sustainability, if they actually know where they produce their stuff, or maybe half of the stuff that's going into your product is produced at subcontractors. And you have no idea. They say one thing, but they do something else. So that's why it's very, very important that you partner up with really trusted, good, validated partners that you can, of course, check that they have all the criteria, all the certifications, etc., etc. So you know that you will get good data. Something else that is being mentioned quite a lot now is that contract will be extremely important from now on. Meaning that if you don't have any contract with your supplier or manufacturer, if the data is wrong and the European Union is coming for you because you haven't actually input the right data in your DPP, then you're like, it's not my fault. Well, it is, but then you will know exactly where in your value chain things did not happen how they should have happened. But if you have good contracts in place, if you state exactly who's responsible for the data, etc., then you know how to direct your focus when something happens or if something happens.
Yeah, and also we'll talk more about what would happen if you don't comply with this legislation. But I could also think about putting in contracts that you require that the data is accurate, and you could put in consequences if it's not.
All right, so who's actually the DPP for? First of all, it's for consumers, basically because we want them to make informed decisions so they can get transparent information about the materials, manufacturing processes, and the environmental impact of the product that they buy, because we don't want them to buy more. We want them to buy good products that last and that they keep longer. We want to make sure that authenticity is assured, basically helping consumers verify the origin and authenticity of a product, especially for luxury and branded items. We also want to increase the second life value. It basically makes everything easier for resale and recycling purposes when you provide the correct data. Then the resale and recycle facilities know exactly how to handle that product. And the last one is for brand engagement, basically allows customers to give feedback and engage directly with the brand. To when they give good feedback, of course, the brand can create better products, better collections, reduce overproduction, reduce shit products on the market, basically. And in terms of fashion brands and retailers, because we need brands now to comply with the new regulations that are coming. But not only in the EU, we also see new laws in California, we see new laws in Canada, and we know that many more countries will follow suit. So it won't just be for now for the EU, because brands want customer engagement. It builds trust with the consumers by demonstrating transparency and accountability, because it's easier for product lifecycle management, of course, when you can track the entire product post-sale and then after sale as well, enabling circular initiatives like resale, repair, recycling programs, for example. And then, of course, you will have all the sustainability metrics in terms of collecting all the data and reporting and making it easier to basically showcase your environmental credentials.
And I also want to mention one thing. We're talking a lot about EU and complying to legislation here, but we do have customers in, for example, the US that do not sell in EU, but they still want to have a tool to show the traceability, to communicate with the customers, to show that they are ahead of their competitors. They have full control of the supply chain and they're not afraid of showing it. And some other brands, they do this partly. So they want to still have a passport to show the things they want to show. So it's not only EU selling brands that are interested in this.
In terms of manufacturer and suppliers, in terms of who the DPPs are for, when it comes to transparency, we, of course, all the communication between the stakeholders is way easier when you have the data and when you can track the data properly. You can see the progress you're making, you can see where you need to focus more, etc. And of course, it makes it easier for collaboration. It simplifies partnerships because you have standardized information on compliance materials and ethical practices. And of course, accountability, because all of a sudden you have a system that verifies that what you're saying is actually true. And in terms of resellers and circular solutions, it's easier to resell. All of a sudden, you can, with literally one click of a button, resell your product and you have all the data. Most people cut off their tags, so you have no idea how to take care of the product. If you're reselling a product, you don't know what the composition of the garment is, you don't know how to wash it, you don't know how to take care of it. But through the DPP, all the data will continue along the entire product lifetime. And then, of course, when it's time to recycle it, also the recycling facilities will understand and will know what the composition is, so they will know how to recycle it. And so it actually goes to the right recycling facility. In terms of repair and refurbishment, of course, you will know, because it states in the DPP on exactly how to do it, how to take care of the product, but also who to connect if you want to repair your product or if you want to upcycle or whatever. It connects you to either the brand itself where you can get help, or third-party companies that can actually support you in making sure that you repair and take care of your product. And the last one is governments and NGOs. Of course, it makes it easier to monitor sustainability and to make sure that everyone's compliant, and, it protects consumers as well. And then it boosts circular practices because it supports material recovery.
Let me ask you a question. What collection or season are you working on right now? Is it spring, summer 25, 26, 27? Think about it, because the reason I'm asking is I will be talking about the timeline. So let's look at the timeline. Exact answer about the timeline is we do not know yet. As I mentioned previously, the ESPR framework legislation came into place in July, and now we're beginning of 2025. It's now in Q1 and Q2. The EU, they have a working group. So by Q2, they will present the results of this working group and create a working plan. So by then, we expect to get the exact answer. But based on what they have said previously, we have read a couple of things. One thing is that I read a study by the EU Parliament. They propose a 3-step scenario for deployment of the DPP. And then it's going to be a phase 1, where they're going to first in 2027 have a minimal DPP, so you don't really need all the information in this one. Then they're going to have a phase 2 somewhere around 2030, where they're going to have a more advanced DPP for textiles. And then in phase 3, they're looking at the deployment of a full circular DPP, and it's going to be around 2033. But remember, this is just one of the inputs to the EU. But at the same time, they've also said, the EU, that they expect this to start mid 2027. That's the most probable implementation time, mid 2027.
We have several clients at Descender, at our design agency, that are already working on spring summer 27 collection.
Yes. And also, so right now, what we can expect, the timeline is like this. The ESPR is in place, so we know this is coming for sure. Right now, Q1, Q2 of 2025, they are creating working plans. And by Q2, we'll get the results from these working plans. But already now, we can expect the implementation to start mid 2027. It could be phased 2027 to 2033. However, they also say that they will give you a 18 months head start from when they tell you about this. So meaning if they say, they could potentially say in May that by the end of 2026, this is needed. We don't know. So let's see.
Yeah, so for the brands that have a lead time, or like they're working 1.5, 2 years in advance, because some of the brands we work with work 2 years in advance, Skewer, for example. Yeah, it's kind of, they need to hurry up to implement DPPs ASAP. So basically, what are the opportunities? Now this entire episode is like scaring you up. It's not to scare you up. DPPs are actually a huge opportunity, and we want to see everything that's a stress somehow, that by law or whatever, we see it. What is the silver lining? And of course, there is a silver lining here in terms of opportunities. So first of all, operational opportunities when it comes to supply chain traceability, compliance, data management, to use the DPP as a marketing tool, and then in terms of resale and get other income alternatives. So that's from operational perspective. And also from product lifecycle management, of course, you can create better product design because you're following the eco design framework, which is literally telling you how to create more durable and better products. So you can create better products that can be recycled, where you can track and manage warranty and care services, and then you have all the data for footprint management. And in terms of the customer benefits, of course, it's way easier for them to engage with you. They can, from trust perspective, it's given, because they can all of a sudden see all the evidence and everything that you're saying. If you're saying we're certified, they can actually go see your certifications. If you're saying you have sustainability as a top priority, they can actually see what you mean. And in terms of storytelling, it's easier for brands to engage with you because you'll be able to bring in the storytelling through the DPP and use that as a marketing tool. Also as a direct communication through our solution, through Porsche. In Porsche, we have one button where people can give you feedback. So through the DPP, they scan the product, they check the data, they're like, yeah, this is great. They use the product, and they're like, the button fell off. They can actually contact you and say, this is what's happened. How can we make this right? What's going on? And then so you can actually get the feedback and create better products and better collections. And then from a circular model, now you can with ease implement circular models in your operations and use the DPP to facilitate that. If you want to attach resale, repair, rental, for example, or subscription to your business operation, you can easily do that because you have all the data that is needed for those secondary business models.
And also here you can use the feedback solution that Anna mentioned that we have in Porsche. So for example, a recycling facility could contact you as a brand and give you feedback, and you could just improve your products based on that feedback.
So basically, what is Porsche's role here and how we easily do that is in the DPP. If you're seeing it as the center before a purchase, of course, you have all the back-end stuff like supply chain traceability, the sustainable design, the process and structure and efficiency, and you can collect the data and use the data for informed decisions. But also after purchase, you have product information to your end consumer for full transparency. You also have the one-to-one communication with your end consumer to get the feedback and also increase engagement. Think about it. Very few brands right now have a direct communication with their end consumers. They have it through social media, but they actually don't because they have the algorithm kind of blocking it. And then also in terms of the after purchase, you have the product life cycle, and then the secondary business model, which I mentioned, which are the repair, resale, rental, upcycle, upcycling or recycling. So it's easier and facilitates for those. And in terms of transparency and connection to your end consumer, because we're not seeing the digital product passport as an end, or here's the data, let's put the data here, we're done, ciao, good, we're not going to use it. We're seeing it as an opportunity for marketing in terms of transparency and connection. This can be huge because studies show that 94% of consumers are more likely to be loyal to a brand that offers complete transparency about how their products are made. And 88% of consumers, they want brands to help them be more environmental friendly by sharing information on product sourcing, production processes, and sustainability efforts. Basically, DPPs. This is going to be provided through the DPPs. And so how are you going to put this? How are you going to use this? You can use this inside of a garment. It needs to be placed. The code or NFC tag or whatever needs to be stuck on a garment, either outside or inside, but needs to be sewn attached to a product somewhere on the product. And you can use this information, the QR code, for example, also on hang tags, on the packaging. It can be used in marketing material and, of course, in your post material.
And the challenge is to have a code that stays the entire product's lifetime.
Garment lifetime. So meaning, yes, you will most probably need to invest in better quality care labels, for example, is the easiest place to place it. You already pay for the care label. It needs to be there anyhow. So just make a bit more space and then add the QR code inside and then literally educate your customers to not cut these off. Now on many care labels, you have the dotted line with a pair of scissors. That's kind of stupid because this education to the end consumer is going to be crazy because you do not want the customers to chop them off. You want them to keep them there so you can give them information, have communication with them. So again, in terms of the communications, you want the customer to be in your world. You want them to come back to you with the use of the digital product passport. This is free connection to your customers. You don't have any algorithm that's going to mess you up. You don't have any paid ads that you need to pay Meta for. This will be people that come to you directly through the DPPs. And of course, this will also increase the traffic to your site because this is what the DPP is. It's a connector. It's right now in beta, which means that if you connect it to your website, you can sell the same product over and over and over again. Not only once, sending it away to your customer, then the customer resells it on Depop or Vestiaire Collective or other places, and those guys earn the money. You want them to come back to you and sell your product multiple times on your site.
So, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities. It's very likely that in just a few years, all customers, all users will be trained to look for the QR code. That's where you get all the information. So then there are just endless possibilities of how you can use this. They're going to use the QR code for getting contact with you, get your information. And then, of course, you might be thinking, what kind of information are you actually talking about that we need in the passport? You're talking about getting the data. But again, here, we're waiting for the outcome of this working group that they have in EU. But they're talking about things such as from the supply chain. You look at the production, everything about the production, how it's done, the transport. You look at the finished product. You look at distribution. You will also look at the usage of the product at end of life. So here we're talking about how will you repair it? How will you recycle it? How will you dispose of this product? This kind of information should be there. Legal information. There are a lot of information now. So what we've done in Porsche, we probably have more information that will be needed from the beginning, but we think that's better. We have material information. So it's the source of materials, who has made it, where is it made, the processes of making it, and also the different percentages of the components inside of the materials. And one thing they're talking about is LCA, that's life cycle assessment, meaning the environmental footprint, such as the water usage or the CO2 emissions. We think this is, from what we've heard, this will not be a requirement from day one. However, we do have a tool for this inside of Porsche to calculate these impacts. But we also look at the quantities. We do have looking at the manufacturers. We look at the logistics and transportation. We also put in safety information. That's important if you do workwear or
kids wear,
for example. So those kind of things, there are certifications, and there's a lot of information about the maintenance and aftercare. So the usage information, how you should wash it, take care of it, repair it, recycle it, all these kind of things, and end of life information. As we also came up with this feedback thing, this is not something EU at all has mentioned, but we think it's a fantastic opportunity, since the customers will use your QR code. So then they can send a message directly to you as a brand. You get it inside of the system. You just send a message back, and you can tie them into your loop in your community. And then, so what will happen if you don't comply with this DPP, with the EU legislation?
What are the penalties?
Yes, what will happen?
They will come for you.
It's very, very clear. They are mandatory. If you don't have them, you will not be able to sell your products in the EU. And if you still do, you will be penalized. So they have said that penalties, they must be effective and proportionate and dissuasive. So this will be decided by each EU country, what the actual penalty will be. But they are told that they will put these penalties in place. So non-compliance, they will probably result in fines. And if we look at how EU has treated, for example, GDPR, we know that they have given big fines to big tech companies that don't comply. So there they've used a percentage of the turnover, for example, as fines. We don't know, but they're very clear. They will be mandatory, and they want to find a way of enforcing it. And of course, this is one thing, the fines, but you probably will lose your reputation if you don't use them, the credibility and trust. If 99% of your competitors have them, why don't you? Why is the reason? And also inside, for example, in our tool, in the Porsche tool, when they look at the digital product passport, they will see how well you used environmentally friendly options and sustainable options. So for those who are interested in that, they will see that in other brands that don't have used the same sustainable options. And then if you come and you don't have an option at all, if you don't show anything, you will be behind. So again, going back to what I mentioned about our customers in, for example, the US, that want to use this, be the first ones before anyone else has it, because then they have an advantage. They're the one that can show these things about the traceability. So practically, how will you implement this?
4 stages.
Yes. So first you will gather the data. So you will take the data you already have, and then you will collect the rest of the information. Typically, I would say it's from 3 different levels. You have from the manufacturer supplier level, so where they are based, the processes they have, the certifications. The second one is the material. Where is it made? What kind of material is it? And the third one is on the product itself. So as we mentioned, how will you take care of this product? What's the batch number for the production of this product? Is there any legal requirements? Those kind of things. So also you gather data. Of course, if you don't have any data at all today, it will be a threshold to come over in the beginning to get this. But the longer you work with this and the longer you've had the passports, it will be easier because you will reuse the data. And in our system, you put it in once, and then you can reuse it.
And depending on who you work with, if your suppliers or manufacturers are really good suppliers and manufacturers, and if they have sustainability as their core, then they already have this information, and it's just something for you to ask because this info is already prepared by them.
So whether you use Porsche or another system, make sure you have control of your data. You are the one that should own it. And as we mentioned, you're also responsible for the information in the DPP. So you want to be on top of it and know where you're getting the information from. And then the third step will be that you decide the information that goes into the DPP. Once the EU has said exactly what's needed, our system will tell you, okay, this is what you need to comply. But we will also have options where you can turn it on and off, different options, because maybe you want to use this in another region and you don't want to show all the information that is required here in the EU. So that's fine. So that's the third step. And then the fourth step is when you have decided this, you print the QR codes. And in our system, you just click, you get the same system, you get a QR code that's basically an image. This image you can print out and put on this image, the QR code, you can put on your labels, for example, and then they will work directly. When the user scans this code, they will come to a hosted and ready product passport will show all this information. And also what's great is this is dynamic. So even if you put in all the information and you notice after a while that you could actually get more accurate data, you just put it in and that will show in the DPP. So you could say that the QR code is static, but the data is dynamic. So to recap, the urgency is really that they expect to put this passport into place by mid 2027. We'll see now by Q2 when it's going to happen. It could be phased from 2027 to 2033. Could also be starting by the end of 2026. We do not know yet because they said that it will give you an 18 months head start for this. And we know that they have, for example, for other categories such as batteries, they will start in February 2027. So we know they will start implementing DPPs and probably will put the same requirements on other products after the textile industry in a while. And as we said, we know many of our customers, they all are working on the 2027 collections. So then you have to think of, you need to have the DPPs or a solution for it ready before you start producing the products. You need to have them so you can create the QR codes for the labels. So when you're in that stage, you really need to have some kind of solution looking at this.
And we know this is a lot, and even in this episode, we've discussed quite a lot of things to consider and to be mindful of and to put into place and implement and all that. And to make it easier for you, you can check the link in the description because there's a downloadable PDF for you so you can make sure that you're not missing anything, that you're actually staying on top of this. Because again, this is a phenomenal opportunity and a great marketing tool. Yes, transparency, traceability, sustainability, all that. But most of all, it's a phenomenal marketing tool and a connector to your end consumer.
And also a recommendation is to find a solution where you're in control. I want to emphasize this because you don't want to, since you're the one responsible, you do not really want to outsource this to a supplier or a third party to own all your data and control it and lock you in, and you do not know exactly what kind of data they have. You want to be the one on top of this. We have seen trim suppliers, for example, that offer a DPP solution, but then they will own the data. And also that's kind of the business model, because then you will keep ordering the same trims from them over and over again because you're locked in. That's their advantage. You have their system, they provide the DPPs, and they have the supply chain information. But you are the one that are responsible. So still, they own the data, but you want to be in control. It's not really a match. The DPPs will help you to lead in the market. They will help you increase your revenue. They will help you stay compliant. You can take market share. You can grow your customer base. And we help you do this with Porsche. It's an all-in-one platform. The DPPs is one part of the system. We also help you streamline your operations. We have communications, processes, project management, product management, the PLM, everything. Go and check it out, Porsche.cloud. It's really easy to get started. You sign up and the same day you can start using it. You can have the QR codes, the DPPs the same day. You don't need a tech department. You don't need a tech department or anything. It's really easy to get started.
And if you have further questions regarding DPPs, we are here to support you answering those questions. So yeah, hook us up wherever if on YouTube or through the podcast, just email us and we will answer as best as we can with the information that is available right now. Thank you so much for listening and thank you so much for being here with us. Good luck with your DPPs.
Thank you guys. Bye.